Hey everyone, Dan Edmondson here again with another tip of the week. This week's tip is on see it as paint. And what I mean by that is when you're painting, you're gonna have a setup or a landscape scene or a figure or working from a photograph. And what you need to do, I think, in an ideal way to make the painting as easy as possible, is to see it as paint. So you take this setup right here, and you look at it and you say, okay, I want to see this as paint. Now, what am I really saying when people say see it as paint? What they're really saying is try to envision what this painting is going to look like when it's finished, okay? But not only the whole painting, because that's kind of easy. We get a sense of what we want the painting to look like when it's finished, but we need to maybe zero in on like this area. What do we want this area to look like? What do we want this area to look like? What do we want this to look like? How do we want the foreground to look? Right? And you could even create a little chart, and I have a little handout for it in my for my classes. But trust me, there's no magic in that handout. Really, what you can do is you just have to address everything. You address how do you want the background to look? How do you want the foreground to look? How do you want the shadow pattern to look? How do you want, like this tabletop to look? How do you want the base to look? Where do you want to use really thick paint? Where do you want to use really thin paint, right? And then from there, you just go about painting it, right? And the more you can identify what you want it to look like at the end, the easier the painting is going to be. Okay, so it's just because the map is laid out. If you're going to drive I live in Colorado, so if I was going to drive from here to Tennessee, for example, it's probably a 24-hour drive. And let's say that you're going to spend 24 hours in the cars, maybe 3 8-hour days, which isn't that unusual. You might spend 3 days working on a painting, right? So you're just going to sit down in your chair or stand at your easel and start painting, right? Well, in reality, you don't really have any clear destination when you first start for that painting than you do just the state of Tennessee from Colorado. So instead, when you're going to go to Tennessee, you're going to pull out a map and you're going to look at it. You're going to see what's along the way, maybe different places you might want to stop, and where you're going to want to spend time and all that, right? Well, the same thing goes here with this painting. How am I going to want to get to the final painting, which I might have somewhat of an idea in my mind, but the more I identify how I want to deal with this light back here on both sides of this, how I want to deal with the light on the front edge of this board, which is almost as bright as the top plane, and maybe how I want to deal with these background information areas here and here, then I will have a much better roadmap for how I want to go do it. All right. And you'll see here in this, I enhance that light a little bit just to make this all stand out. I darken this area here so that we have a stronger sense of focus. And then here, I darken that. So that is really see it as paint. And really, I mean, the more specific you can get, the more you can see it as individual brush strokes, the better. Now this is one where I didn't do that. And that was because this was a demo. I set it up in 5 minutes. Well, actually, probably more like 20 minutes. And I just started painting away. And I didn't take the time to lay it out. And this painting took me like a year to finish because I just went through it and I was painting, like I'd be driving to Tennessee without even looking at a map. And I ended up in Wyoming, and then I ended up in Utah, and then finally I looked at a map, and there I was. I was finally in Tennessee. So what I realized was this wasn't the way I wanted to paint the vase, and I wanted to add another piece of color. So what I ended up finally was with this, where I really came through and changed the plane that I was looking at it and brightened the vase, and then I decided I need more color up here. So we had a nice circle of interest throughout the whole painting. Okay, that's it. Here's a really complicated one. How are you going to handle all that? I mean, can you see how that would be? Okay, and if you like this tip, you might really enjoy my classes. Here's a link to it. Love the paint. It'll love you back. Okay, that's Dan with the tip of the week. Have a fantastic day.